Good morning, Jody.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Awesome. I said right on cue, I said about 8:08, 8:09, Jody should be popping on so we can test the audio.
You sound good. I can hear you really well.
Okay,
Should we turn on the mics?
Oh, yeah, and we do have extra mics.
Yeah, I would turn them on because the back of the room is a little quiet.
Okay, how's that? A little bit better?
You guys, Joe, can you say something?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, that sounds good.
No, more important, what about me? No, I'm serious. I'm gonna be trying to talk to everybody.
No, it's it.
I don't want to bother you. I don't know if you're working on stuff or not. No, you guys all sound good. I think the extra mics in the back helps though, because otherwise it can be kind of more muffled sounding from the way back.
Okay. Okay, Jim, do another audio.
Jody, with no bother, I just,
Yeah, I appreciate that.
my laptop decided to disable the Wi-Fi, I had to do a complete restart. So, thinking you don't have Wi-Fi.
It disabled the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so I had to do a restart to
So
get it
I'm
to work.
interested to see what's going on. Let's do that.
Okay.
Is that mic picking up much
Hey
better?
guys.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, awesome. So I think we're streaming, Jody.
Yep.
And we are all ready to go. Do you see us on public input?
Not yet. I did get a new notification though when I joined the meeting that it was like a third party. I usually
Yeah, I
get
got
like
that
a
too.
note that it's like live streaming, or I get a note that it's being recorded. But that was that was a new note. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah,
So I don't
think
know
that's
if
because,
anyone will.
Yeah, that's just because we're using YouTube, and I think that's a new note
I'm sure you
to
guys-
let them know that we're
Beneficial for them.
working with another party. So if anyone asks, yep, that's what that is.
Okay. Yep. Public input looks good too, guys.
Yeah, Charlie did all the data posts. Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got it all collected and they're processing it. Charlie, what you want, 6 miles of sidewalk in line?
Yeah, correct, yeah. Yeah, I got
They're gonna
it.
process 5, but we'll pick out 5.
And I also I met the property owner on the northwest corner of Phelps and Jackson.
Did you mute everybody, Lori?
Really clean up. I'm looking a little scruffy. I want to be.
No, but I just,
Okay, I can hear it again. I don't know if you're testing it out or not, but
Good morning, Angela.
I think your mic's on, so you might have to turn it off for your computer or mute yourself on Zoom. Once Lori turns the mics in the room back on.
Yes. But I don't know why it's not sharing my screen. Oh. Okay, how are you? Good today so far. Oh, the technology was good at that, and my end decided you don't have Wi-Fi anymore. I had to do a restart. Good.
Hey Jim, I'm gonna mute your Zoom line.
Hey, just a quick audio check. Jody, can you confirm you can hear us?
Yes, you guys sound good.
Okay, we'll be starting in just a moment.
Yeah. We can zoom out the card camera. As we set somebody closer to the front.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. We'll get started. Before we do roles, Jim, do you want to explain?
Yeah, thank you, David. Good morning, everybody. Just to give everybody a heads up, we are conducting this meeting in the spirit of the open meetings law. And in order to do that, we're making this meeting a hybrid format, so we have people online, we have people in the room. The members of the public are able to join us through our HomeDepot.com platform, and that could be a laptop, it could be a computer, a mobile device, or just by telephone. Public will have a chance to submit their questions via email, chat, text. Bring those up at an appropriate time in the meeting. There will be an opportunity for anybody's on the phone and they want to text or an audio break. The video is being recorded. We are recording, right, Larry? And it's going to be archived to our website. So everything you do and say can be used against you. As I mentioned, the public is able to join us on our publicinput.com platform, so publicinput.com/GTC board, or they're able to call us free. Information up on the screen, the free number, the code to enter the meeting. If they want to send an email, there's a dedicated email address, dedicated text.
Thank you, Jim. Joe, call the order, please.
Sure. You can call them.
Oh, okay, call the order.
I'm going to run through the roll call. Genesee County, Rochelle Stein.
Harry Mayock, calling in for Rochelle Stein.
Thank you. Livingston County, David Lefebvre.
Present.
Monroe County Legislature, Sabrina Lamar. Ontario County, Kyle Campbell. Present. Orleans County, Lynn Johnson. Seneca County, Michael Enslow. Wayne County, Philip Ignor. Here. Wyoming County, Rebecca Ryan. Yates County, Leslie Church. Monroe County Executive, Adam Bello.
I was informed by Tom Fries, he's on his way, he'll be late, but he'll be here.
Thanks, Scott. Monroe County Planning Board, William Santos.
Rochelle Bell, here for Santos.
Monroe County Supervisors Association, Stephen Schultz. Monroe County at Large, Jeffrey McCann.
Scott Levis is representing.
Monroe County at Large, Daniel Hogan.
Here.
City of Rochester Mayor, Malik Evans.
Richard Perrin representing.
City of Rochester Council, Miguel Melendez. City of Rochester Planning Commission, David Watson. City of Rochester at Large, Eric Frisch. Here. Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council, Shelley Stein. Rochester Genesee Regional Transportation Authority, Donald Jeffries. Empire State Development Corporation, Hope Knight.
Steve Golding representing.
New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Basil Setos.
Timothy Walsh representing.
New York State Department of Transportation, Commissioner Dominguez.
Chris Reed representing.
New York State Thruway Authority, Frank Hoare.
Sean Carrington representing.
And then Federal Aviation Administration, Evelyn Martinez. Federal Highway Administration, Rick Markey. And Federal Transit Administration, Michael Coletta. Very well, Mr. Chairman. You have the floor.
Joe, I did notice, I didn't hear a response, but Steve Schultz is now on, and
Okay.
John Devaney from Orleans County is on.
Okay.
Steve Schultz from Orleans County.
Next, we have the public forum. I'll ask if there's any members of the public that would like to address the board. You have the ability to relay written comments from the public and open bridge to allow someone to speak.
Anybody online, Mark?
Not this time.
Sounds good. We will move on to approval of minutes. We have our August 24th quarterly meeting. I'll ask for a motion in a second. Thank you. Are there any corrections? Anything anyone would like to bring forward at this time? Hearing none, I ask for a vote there. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? They're carried. I do need to inform the board that we do have minutes from the October 12th Planning Committee and draft minutes from the November 9th Planning Committee. They're provided for informational purposes. Next, we'll move on for communications and announcements.
Yeah, so just the day of the last meeting, so we didn't have a chance to announce it then, but so Mitch Rowe retired from Seneca County as their county manager. Kyle Lovell has been appointed the new Seneca County manager and has been designated as the alternate to Mike Winslow from Seneca County. So more exciting news to share. You've heard me talk about the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. This is a program was yesterday. Awards were announced by the U.S. Office of Secretary of Transportation. You may recall back in June, the board authorized staff to prepare and submit an application for funding to do safety planning on behalf of 9 counties in the city of Rochester. That application was submitted July 10th. July 10th. It'll be a 4-year safety program with a safe systems approach. People have heard of Vision Zero and different things. Basically, looking at the system and looking at all users and trying to ensure it's popped up with them. Tell me through your recording. So the safe system approach looks at comprehensive all users on the road network. We did pursue a collaborative multi-jurisdiction effort rather than each county going in on their own or the city going on their own for planning and demonstration. Pull together a large application. Cities and counties offer up a combined, or the city of Rochester and the 9 counties offer up a combined $250,000 in cash match over 4 years for this program. And we were awarded just under $1.75 million federal funds to do safety planning for the next 4 years. Our full ask, so it was nice. Looking at the list of New York State yesterday, I'm pleased to say we were the 3rd largest grant in New York State. So that it's going to be kicking off a new approach for us, and what we plan to come away with, some of the results that we're expecting in 4 years. We'll have a local road safety plan. Basically, that just means it's not just local roads versus state roads versus county roads. It's the locally developed plan. So each county and the city of Rochester will have their own standalone plan. It will be at 10 plans total. We also have in the budget funding to do site investigations where places where higher than expected crashes, can we go in and understand and try to look for a pattern of crashes and then effective countermeasures. And site investigations are required before you can get safety funds. So right now, Monroe County already does quite a bit. City of Rochester does quite a bit. And Monroe County being the traffic engineer for the city, they include city locations. But the other counties don't have as much capacity to do it, do sort of one off as needed. This will provide funding to support those efforts. Similar to that, a roadway safety audit where you walk the corridor with a multidisciplinary team, you typically bring public safety, school districts, local elected officials, technical folks. Basically, you walk the corridor and try to understand the different safety issues. We'll be able to do, we budgeted for 8 of those over 4 years, so 2 a year. We budgeted for data collection equipment, you know, whatever each county and city decides might be their best fit, but it could be cameras, it could be counters. It's not specified, it's just an allotment for data collection. Also have a robust public engagement component, and included in that will be 2 all-day summits, community summits. I'm guessing likely one in 2025 and one in 2027. We'll also be able to support a regional safety advisory group, and any county traffic safety boards will be able to help them along in ways to be defined. It's not locked in, it's just written up as support for those safety efforts that are already occurring, or how can we collaborate across county lines. You've heard us mention Reconnect Rochester does a complete streets makeover program where they go in. It's projects, locations identified by the general public. They've done 4 of them in one in each quadrant of the city of Rochester, and you go in and you engage the neighborhood and you put in temporary installations to try to slow down traffic and test out techniques to make a location safer. So we'll be able to support them, basically continuing support for 4 years, and a new initiative in conjunction with the city of Rochester around downtown development. Rochester Downtown Development Corporation and Reconnect Rochester, looking at the corners at downtown, and where you can bump out the curves and do some artwork. Basically, you shorten the distance for pedestrians to cross, and you slow down motorists, again, to try to create a safer environment on a test case. And if it has success, then permanent installation can be pursued later. So that is, there's a lot to come. Like I said, we got the formal announcement yesterday. We will have to develop formal agreement with the federal government. Unlike our traditional funds that get routed through New York State, these will come directly from USDOT to GTC. It'll be similar to what our GRJ has in their transit funding. So we'll work with the financial folks here and the host agency for GTC, if any action needs to be taken by them to accept the grant, but we'll coordinate with the finance team here on that. And I'm expecting to be able to report a lot more in February.
Thank you, Joe. Moving to reports and action on old business, I'd like to ask Scott Leatherstitch to please give us a planning committee.
Morning, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy holidays to everyone. Planning committee met on October 12th and recommends that the GTC board accept 5 reports as evidence of completion of the Unified Planning Work Program tasks. And they included Monroe County Land Use Monitoring Report, Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Land Use Monitoring Report, the Arcade Multi-Use Trail Feasibility Study, Monroe County Comprehensive Active Transportation Plan, and the City of Rochester Active Transportation Master Plan. Also modified the fiscal year 2023-2024 Unified Planning Work Program to reprogram the source of federal funds on task 6533, the Joseph Avenue Art Walk Master Plan, from FHWA Metropolitan Planning Funds to complete streets planning set site. Additionally, the Planning Committee met on November 9th and took the following actions. We approved 3 administrative modifications to the federal fiscal year 2023-2027 Transportation Improvement Program as requested by New York State DOT. Those projects included deferring phases of Route 14 within the former Village of Lyons Preventive Maintenance Project, deferring the phase of the Bridge Preventive Maintenance Region-wide Project, and increasing the total cost of the I-490 bridges over Erie Canal and Craig Road project. That's my report.
Thank you, Scott. Next, Jim, GTC staff.
You're going to see on the slide way more staff changes than we would normally report, but I'm pleased to announce after authorization from the executive committee to establish new titles, Jody Bennix has been promoted to Deputy Director for Planning. Joe Bovenzi has been promoted to Deputy Director for Plant Administration and Operations, and the organizational chart is being divvied up a little bit to focus on the operations of the office and the planning of the office. Also, pleased to introduce Charlie Week, who joined our team on August 28th. He is focused on active transportation and has fit in very well. Already completed some technical assistance work for Town of Lyons. Gone out and done the field work, so we're plugging away and it's working out very well. Glad to have it. As part of the reorganization, we've moved the management of the Transportation Improvement Program off of the desk of the Assistant Director. As I said, Joe and Jody taking over, helping out on the management side, but we've advertised for program manager to be focused on the Transportation Improvement Program. Applications have already started rolling in. And with our successful Safe Streets and Roads for All grant that I just talked about, we'll be bringing on a program manager for special projects, another new title, and the budget and the grant supports that position. So they will have somebody on to basically corral and manage that effort and keep things going. One of the things that I'm absolutely concerned about is the local road safety plans, basically doing 10 plans. And those plans will be critical to getting capital funds for implementing improvements. So I want things going concurrent, not sequential. So we'll have to figure out how do we break up basically 10 separate projects into manageable contracts. We might do, for example, New York County and City of Rochester together because the traffic engineers, the traffic concerns are so great. It might be West Side counties, West Side, East Side counties on separate grants. Maybe we're in 3 different contracts. You have to wait and see, but the point being that the project manager will have responsibility for keeping that all moving during the lifetime of the project. That's my staff, or my.
Thank you, Joe. At our last meeting, we tabled the Webster Hamlet revitalization kind of our goals out on the PWP. And I'd ask for a motion in a second, so maybe we can discuss that at this time. We have a motion. Thank you. Jim, if you would please follow up on what's happened since we
Sure. So you'll recall at the August meeting, just shortly before the meeting, we realized that within the executive summary, some of the language had been updated in a graphic, but not in the text. And the language was sensitive around safety and New York State Department of Transportation, the GTC, the local consultant, it all worked together into the language. It just was missing somewhere else. But what we did, tabling allowed us to double check wherever else it might be, language hadn't been updated. So that's been resolved. NISDOT, their concerns were lifted. Basically, not planning to do a new presentation to the full presentation on it last time, but all the concern language has been resolved. And they're prepared to move forward.
Sounds good. Does anyone have any questions on this item? Hearing none, I'd ask for a vote. Basically bring this to a close out this task. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None, that's carried. Jim, federal and legislative funding update.
Okay, so as many of you know, the federal budget runs on October 1 to September 30th fiscal year. So October 1, 2023, the new federal year started, but Congress had not settled on a full year budget. They did pass, and the President signed a continuing resolution in mid-September. What this does is fund all 12 appropriations bills at the 2023 levels and the 2023 programs through November 17th. when it got close to November 17th, they still had to resolve the concerns. So Congress passed another continuing resolution the president signed. This one was a little different. It was a two-tiered laddered continuing resolution. Very unusual. I don't think I've ever seen it in the years I've been involved in stuff. But it funded the appropriations for housing and transportation, agriculture, energy and water programs, military and veterans affairs through January 19th, and the remaining appropriations through February 2nd. So that's that two-tier, different departments getting different deadlines. I don't know what the motivation behind it was, other than the new Speaker of the House and Senate and White House working together to try to get something moving and not shut down the government, and while they have time to address various members' concerns. So it get interesting in January and February. Hopefully by January 19th, there's some agreement on the budget for transportation, and they can move that appropriation forward. Moving into discretionary grant opportunities, like I've been doing at many meetings, since the last meeting, the Reconnecting Communities Program and Neighborhood Access and Equity Grant Program, as well as Strengthening Mobility Revolutionizing Transportation Grant Programs have closed for their applications. Bridge Investment Program was opened. The notice of funding opportunity was released on September 27th, with applications due November 27th. Thriving Communities Program through the Office of Secretary of Transportation, again, IDOFO, released on September 14th with applications due November 28th. Currently open, Advanced Transportation Technology and Innovation, basically using technology in the transportation system. That notice of funding opportunity released on November 20th with applications due February 2nd. And then the RAISE program, Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. This is the current iteration, what had previously been called Build and Tiger. It's run different names, different administrations. That notice of funding opportunity was released on November 30th with applications due February 28th. And that covers large projects in our region. We've been successful in using it for the Interloop East project that the city did several years ago, and the Amtrak station revitalization program. So we've had success with the program in the past. It is very competitive. I don't know if any of our communities are able to pursue it this time. It is currently. And they already started releasing the schedule for upcoming opportunities in 2024. So we've learned bus and bus facilities is expected to become open in January. Similarly, the low and no emissions vehicles for buses in January. Those are both programs that RGRTA has pursued. I think it's fair to say aggressively pursued and had success over times. The Safe Streets and Roads for All that was just announced yesterday. The next round is opening in February, quicker than expected. I can say with confidence GTC will be going after that round. We've got enough, but there's potential for some implementation funds. If there's people have enough planning work to qualify, they might be able to garner some implementation funds. I'm not confident that we're going to have many opportunities in this region for this cycle. The 2025 cycle, you'll much better about. Smart grants to strengthen mobility and road transportation. I don't quite understand what the stage 1 and stage 2 distinction is. That's the first time I've seen it that way, but they're offering up in 2024, summer 2024. It may end up being ones for planning and engineering and ones for implementation. They didn't explain it. The chart I was looking at just named the program. Joe's nodding that one will be for planning and implementation. Planning and design, the other will be for
Jim, on the previous slide, the Thriving Communities grant was noted. NISDOT did go in for that grant.
on behalf of 5 communities around the state. Wyoming County was one of those communities, so fingers crossed. Obviously,
Thank you, I was not aware of that.
understood this, I wanted to bring that to your attention. Obviously, if we're successful, I'll come back to this group.
That'd be great. And again, just a reminder, the U.S. Department of Transportation has some resources online. That top list, link there is the notice, key notices of funding opportunity that's whereas I mentioned the 2024 programs that have already started to be announced. That is a very helpful resource that they started with the bipartisan infrastructure law, and it really helps anticipate opportunities. So we're glad to have that. I'm glad they're keeping it up. The next one, the DOT Navigator, is really designed for, you can go and say, hey, I'm a county and I'm looking for this type of project. What funding opportunities are? And it'll filter out. It'll probably come back with more than you want, because it's even if it's tangentially hits the parameters, it'll return a result, but at least gives you a heads up and allows you to focus your efforts since there's so many different programs. Related to that, when you're going for the discretionary grants, they prepared a checklist of how to get prepared, what you have to line up when you're pursuing it, so you hopefully no last minute surprises. And there's a concerted effort of projects and funding opportunities for rural areas, so they have a dedicated page, transportation.gov/rural. So again, resources across the board. That's it on the legislative funding update.
Thank you. Part of our meeting package, we did have the staff modifications report, give an opportunity for anyone who cares to ask questions on that. Jim or staff here. Hearing no questions, we do have some action items. We do have 5 UPWP project closeouts. Does anyone object to that? Considering these all 5 under one action. Everyone's okay with that? I'll ask for a motion in a second so we can discuss these.
I'll move it. Second.
Thank you. So yes, please, go ahead and discuss these 5 closeouts.
Okay, so we're going to start with the Monroe County Land Use Monitor Report. This is an annual activity intended to document land use and development trends in the county. GTC uses it in our travel demand model. So it's we have a trend of land use changes going back into the late 90s. Yeah, so over 20 years of data, it's very useful. Some of the key outcomes from this would be building permits in 2022, because it runs on a calendar year basis, so it takes time to collect the data and generate reports. But looking at where major project developments are proposed, top 5, Henrietta had the most proposals, followed by Brighton and Parrington at 12 each. Grace and Penfield tied for third, I guess. But this, like I said, this activity is done every year, and it tracks the residential building permits, but also the number of units. So if it's a 20-unit development, if it's a 1-unit development, it'll distinguish, because that makes a difference when it comes to our modeling, how much of an impact we can expect to track. With that, happy to answer questions on land use monitor, Monroe County land use monitor. Complementary effort, the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council does a land use monitor for the other 8 counties in the region. They're done in collaboration and coordination with our county. So a lot of the data is collected and traded off so they can have complete reporting. Again, the intention is to document land use and development trends in the region. GTC uses it for various studies. Some aspects of it are in our travel demand model in portions of Livingston, Ontario, and Wayne County. but other agencies use it, and GFL RPC uses it all for their studies. These two maps show some of the activity. So on the left, the residential permits, and the darker the red, the more intense the number of permits. So the top category is 74 to 106. You will notice a gray area near Lexford Park, Lester, and Mount Morris. Unfortunately, they were not able to get data there. There's a couple of villages that they were not able to get data. It really comes down to staffing at these communities that just don't have the capacity to bring back to report. There's no automated reporting that's easy to grab. But what the Regional Planning Council did do is where they didn't have surveys, they reached out through there's programs with the New York State Office of Real Property, and then the Census Bureau has. So where they couldn't get the direct survey, they tried to supplement the database. We got as much as we could. The map on the right, as I was talking about the New York County development, the number of developments versus the number of units. So if you look at the map on the right, the darker the color, the greater the number of units. So if you have a subdivision with 100 units, that's different than a single family home. They both have their own permits. The darkest color being in Henrietta and northeast Ontario County, you'll see, I'm sorry, northwest, but the darkest is 183 to almost 1,000 units. So that's quite a range. Again, the impact of a large development on our travel volumes more impact. We also, I'm sorry, were there any questions on the regional? Okay, so the Village of Arcade conducted a study on multi-use trail feasibility, but looking at creating a trail system in the Village of Arcade as opposed to just looking at one corridor. It did come out with recommendations for priority routes, and I've got them listed here. One thing I will point out, conversations with Wyoming County Planning Department, and they were working with the Village of Arcade on potentially pursuing a Transportation Alternatives Program grant to fund the, currently there's a excursion rail, a tourist rail from it's the Arcade Attica Railroad, so it starts in the Village of Arcade, goes up to the north to Java, and they want to put a multi-use path in the same corridor as the rail, so we call it rail trail. And we certainly offered to any support we could provide. There was an opportunity to submit applications by November 28th for pre-review and feedback. So they were working towards that. See if they are successful, if they submit, and if they're successful in providing them. This plan gives them a foundation to work from to go after grant. Our county conducted a comprehensive active transportation plan. You can think of active transportation as people power. You know, it's walking, biking, skateboard, scooter, whatever it might be, but it's not an engine. So the intention was to develop a comprehensive active transportation plan for the entire county. Many of the communities in our county have a town-based, village-based plan. This was helping to fill the gaps. So that has plugged away. The recommendations, they've identified a 500-mile active transportation network. You'll see on this map various types of symbols for the network with a half-mile buffer. Those blue lines, and where there's highway crossings, how do you treat those over the expressways? There are existing trails, there are proposed trails, and they also coordinated with the city of Rochester, which will be the next one, active transportation plan for that. The recommendations were reflected in the Monroe County plan as an effort to coordinate. They were running simultaneously. We had the same consultant, so it worked out well. In addition to the recommendation on the network, there's 29 program and policy actions that are identified. They've also identified a toolkit for different facility types and what treatments you might have depending upon the nature of the facility that you are pursuing. And then recommendations related to pedestrian accessibility. Again, it's not just walking or biking, getting around is key as well. And counterpart to that plan, the City of Rochester Active Transportation Master Plan, again, objective to develop a joint bicycle and pedestrian master plan to create a safe, healthy, efficient, equity-focused road network for pedestrians and cyclists in the city network. At City of Rochester, again, looking at the road network in all users, not just automobiles, and how do we safely coexist. Again, in collaboration with Monroe County, they were running concurrently these two opportunities, or these two plans. And so there was good coordination that had they been running on different schedules, probably would not have been. The recommendations do include pedestrian accessibility projects, 29 street or intersection location improvements, 19 miles of city roadways that would be focused for safety improvements, 25 pedestrian improvement planning projects, again, identifying a lot of places where pedestrian and bicycle safety will be improved. There also is identification of a spinal network, 44 miles. And you can think of these as the main roads that connect place to place. The city has several already, and they're looking to add to that. I know Rich Parent had asked to for a chance to say something on this one. So,
Jim, thank you. You offered, and I figured I'd take advantage to say thanks to GTC for funding the active transportation plan. We actually used it for our qualifying plan for the Safe Streets for All application this time around, and we were awarded $3.2 million for planning and demonstration grants. We still have funds that we applied for implementation, mainly for specific elements that are listed up here for projects that we're doing now that we wanted to enhance with some of the recommendations from the plan. But we'll keep at it, as Jim noted. We've got about a 2-month turnaround, and then we'll be submitting the next one. But no, we were able to use this plan as our qualifying plan, which is what you need for implementation for Safe Streets for All. So while not successful, we wouldn't even have been in it, much less had a chance to win without this plan. So I just want to thank the council for the funds to do it, and obviously our partners at GTC, Monroe County, and NISA for their input on all of the coordination with the county. So thank you for that. We've got some exciting things we're looking at that will allow us to continue bike and pedestrian activities through enhanced winter maintenance and some other types of demonstration projects that we're seeing on what we can do to not just make improvements, but ensure that we have a network that basically an all-season network.
Yeah, and I mentioned that yesterday the awards were announced, and GTC's planning award was the 3rd largest in New York State. The City of Rochester was the largest award in New York State. So I think that demonstrates the planning we do around this table can make a difference. It opens up opportunities for funding grants. It's well worth it. But congratulations to the city team on, again, the largest award in New York State going to City of Rochester.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone around here. Thank you.
Any further discussion on these potential 5 closeouts? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's carried. Next, we have 3 2023 to 2027 TIP amendments to consider. Is there any objections to considering all 3 of these under one action? Hearing that, I ask for a motion in a second so we can discuss these. Thank you, Chip.
I will start out with, this is a little bit unusual, timing of these, we've learned of these needs for these project changes and some awards after the planning committee meeting. So the planning committee has not had an opportunity to review these, but we did bring the requested actions to the TIP development committee, which is the committee that guides the planning committee on all things TIP related. And no objections were raised. All this represents, number 1 and 2 represent new funding to the region, so that is helpful. The Route 21 from Village of Manchester to the Village of Palmyra, this project was selected along with, I think it was 10 or 11 others for funding, 7 others, funding for resiliency, pavement and resiliency from main office, NISDOT main office. This project is on the, qualifies for the National Highway Performance Program funds. This one of the 8 is getting federal funds, so therefore has to be listed on the TIP. The funds are managed by New York State main office. They will not affect the regional planning target, and they're not available to any other project. Again, it's new funding to the region. Our transmittal memo did include the other locations for information for the board, but they're going to be 100% state funded, so they will not be in the TIP. But we did want to share by way of information so that the board was informed about the other opportunities. The next project, so Route 63 FLAP. FLAP is the Federal Lands Access Program. So this is in the Iroquois National Wildlife Refuge. It's federal land. There's a special program for projects and those types of locations. We had in the previous TIP to have this project. When it went out to bid, the bids came in really high. So the state DOT, I believe it was state DOT or federal highway, that rejected the bids and sought funding to try to make it so they could pursue the project again. NISDOT main office identified some statewide STB flex funds that can be put to this project, and the federal lands access funds that were already on it, stayed on it. So the action is to reinstate the project and add supplemental construction. Again, project funds coming from New York State main office, not going to get back to regional planning target funds, and funds are not available in any other project. New money to the region. The third one is bridge steel repair at various federally eligible locations. This is a bridge project that, due to the nature of the work, essentially preventive maintenance, state DOT bundled projects, and was initially planning to do 24 locations when the TIP applications done or were put in. Anybody who's had to open bids dealing with steel in particular, the inflation on project costs is tremendous, and that was a big hit to this program. So NISDOT has come back and is requesting to reduce the scope from 24 locations to 10 locations, but without a change in the project budget. For the sake of everybody understanding, bridge identification number of these bridge numbers are not going to mean anything to you. So working with the NISDOT Region 4 staff, there's a map. I know this map is very difficult to read, especially in the room, but it does identify the bridges that are remaining and the bridges that we're removing. Got it in tabular form. So you'll see featured carry. You can think of, to read this top one, Route 263 over Spring Creek. You can read this. I-390 over I-490. Again, I apologize, it's a little hard to read in the room. But these are the locations that are staying in. The locations that are being dropped. NISDOT also identified, there's some notes here, and we can get this out afterward. For example, the I-490 over Route 96, the bridge deteriorated faster than they anticipated, so the window of opportunity for preventive maintenance is not really there. So the state will be looking to address that project in another way. A couple of these projects are projects that were already addressed, locations already addressed by NISDOT, or have a plan to address. And Joel, I'm happy if there's anything you want to add to that or clarify, please do.
Will do. Where it does say miss the window of opportunity, partially that's true. With the low bids being so much higher than the expected, we always have to weigh what is the right project at the right time. When preventative maintenance costs that as much as industry is saying, it's actually more cost effective on some of these structures to do a larger project. And so it's a minor rehab as opposed to preventative maintenance. So for the, I believe it's six or seven bridges where it says missed window of opportunity, yes, it's now 5 years later from when the project started and things have changed, but it's really that the math changed. We're looking.
Thank you for that clarification.
More a light rehab. Oh.
With that, are there any questions on any of the three?
Hearing no further discussion on these amendments, I ask for a vote to approve these. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None are approved. Under new business, 2024 meeting.
Yeah, so we have identified the dates. We will continue to use this boardroom for the 2024 meeting locations. The meeting package did include a full page that included all the board meetings, the planning committee meetings, and the TIP development committee meetings are intended for your reference. Board members are not expected to participate in those. And we are working, Lori's going to be sending out Outlook invitations so that it's easier to put on your calendars with manual entry. Don't know why we haven't thought of doing that in years past, but that is something that Lori will be working on over the next week or so. So we can get these on your calendars a lot easier.
Sounds good. So as you're stating here, our next meeting is February 29th for this location.
Yep, leap year. But it gives us an opportunity to have our 30-day public review without staff having to try to mail out stuff. It's beneficial to us to take advantage of that one day.
I'll ask if there's any other business to come before the board this morning.
Sure. I just wondered if there's an update on the search for new office buildings property.
Sure. So for those who are not aware, on October 13th, the executive committee had met, and one of the items they had agreed to was searching for a new office space for GTC. Reported at past meetings where, due to Monroe County undertaking a floor rehabilitation project, we were displaced from the 8th floor of the City Place building. But going forward, Monroe County doesn't have long-term space available for us. Back almost a year ago that we found out we were going to be moving into a small space that they created for us, but not very conducive to work. We can't even fit the entire team in there at the same time. It's a small space. Had reached out at that time to Monroe County, RGRTA and City of Rochester, if they might be able to host us. They also did not have suitable space to accommodate the whole staff. So we've gone out on the open market. We've engaged with CBRE as a broker for space. They initially identified between 20 and 25 spaces for us to look at. Gave us some basic information as a staff. So myself, Joe Benzie, and Jody Bennix screening through as the management team. We eventually toured 6 different buildings, and a couple of buildings have multiple spaces. As of Tuesday, I think it was, that they communicated that we want to move forward looking at 4 of the spaces. One of the spaces that looked promising until we walked through it just would require an awful lot of work, and building's very tired. Another location would have been a nice environment for staff, but not for visitors. So, and parking would have been really challenging, so we dropped that from the list. Because we're gonna be soliciting proposals from building owners and the remaining 4, I'd rather not say who it is because it's being broadcast out and we want to be in a competitive environment. But I've got to get some feedback today to our broker who will solicit proposals from the 4 building owners. How they might, there's a term they use, demise. So you get, for example, one of the buildings has an entire floor available. We don't need an entire floor. But how would they split that floor? What would they charge us for rent? What's included in that rent? What are they? I've come to learn that what you see in a number is not the number. And do they charge extra for utilities or janitorial or common area fees or taxes? You know, so the broker putting together the proposals, we're going to be able to get an apples to apples comparison. And then the executive committee wants to tour the buildings and take a space. So hopefully mid to late January, we can have the executive committee tour the spaces and come with shortly after that, at least any that they would pick from those 4. And hopefully we would be able to come to terms. Similar to what I mentioned earlier about the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, because we would be entering into a lease, we'd have to work through our host agency, GTC. So we'll coordinate Miguel and his team on getting on the agenda for the RGRTA Board of Commissioners to formally approve the lease. We've worked with legal counsel here to get some guidance, some guidelines on being able to, how long the duration of the lease. And I will say, Steve Golden, your office moving and signing a 10-year lease gave us some guidance because RGRTA owns their buildings. They're not in the leasing business. So the only thing we were working initially from was, we have a 5-year cap on leasing equipment or vehicles. But the experience of Empire State Development, we were able to get an example of state agency signing a 10-year lease. So that's more attractive to the building developers. Whatever they might be willing to do for us for improving space gets amortized over 10 years. The lease rate might be a little bit better because they're locking in for 10 years as opposed to 5. So they're moving forward. Proposals will probably say, hey, give us one set of numbers for 7 years and one set of numbers for 10 years. That's what our broker has recommended. So things are moving forward pretty quickly.
Any other further discussion?
Just a couple quick notes if I could. I just want to let everybody know that the open space planning process is underway with state parks and DEC looking at that. We're looking across 11 counties in our Region 8 area, but also that's happening across the state. So looking for that opportunity. DOT is also part of that. We're also able to access them, so we're working through that. Just want to make sure that was on everybody's radar.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Supervisor Steve Schultz. A number of businesses in Henrietta were recently notified that there is 0 power left in Henrietta from a transformer standpoint. And we had a meeting with RG. Being perfectly blunt, I laid into them for allowing this to happen. The county executive and I then met with our state assembly member and state senator because our Chinese plan is their quote unquote short-term plan is to have additional power in 3 to 4 years. That puts over 1,000 homes and apartments at risk, as well as we've already lost 250 jobs as the company moved out. So if there's anything this council might do from a letter of recommendation or anything like that, we're trying to pursue New York or Make Ready funds or something to expedite that process. Please contact me at supervisor@henrietta.org because it's unacceptable and just I'm befuddled that they could allow this to happen, but they did.
Thank you.
Yeah, Supervisor Stokes does raise, a good point about the electrical grid and capacity. One of the things that we've tried to be mindful whenever we're interacting with different groups that are looking at climate change and greenhouse gas and the different things we keep hearing, electric vehicle, we push for zero emissions. Because if we're already seeing places that they can't put commercial development because of lack of grid, how are we gonna add capacity for lots of electric vehicles? RGRTA, as part of a big project, kind of bring a whole transformer to your campus, right? So in order to be able to charge the electric buses. So the challenges are out there. I think there's a great push to, on the clean energy side, particularly a push for electric, but we've got to get the utilities coming along to ensure we have the grid capacity to make things happen. I'm sure all of you are facing that back in your own communities. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think there's anybody on the council opposed to having additional capacity in our electric grid.
Thank you. Is there any further? Nothing further. You have oh, yes.
I just, on behalf of the planning committee, I would like to acknowledge Rochelle Bell, fellow Monroe County colleague, has announced her retirement. This will be her last meeting too, so we'd like to offer our congratulations to her as well as our appreciation for the service to Monroe County.
And then I just want to say that you should have gotten a separate invitation, but at 9:45 we're going to be rolling out a federal funding workshop. Just a reminder for folks who aren't aware of it, or maybe it's a first introduction. And at the request of Joe Stein, we've also extended the invitation to the original planning council members and alternates. So folks might be joining us in the room or joining us online. But we're gonna shift gears and then have that up and running at 9:45. So for those that are sticking around, welcome. If you're planning to leave, we just ask that you clear the room by 9:45.
Anyone have anything further? Now I wish everyone a happy holidays. All those in favor of adjournment? Aye. All those carried. Thank you.
Okay.